Hello, I'm Vera. Welcome back. As of June 6th, the Media Tour embargo is lifted and we are blasted with a boatload of information regarding Dawntrail. Today, I want to do what this channel's primary focus is and zero in on what was confirmed for Viper and offer up my thoughts on how we'll be playing the job since everything's been revealed. Now, there are a couple well put together videos that quickly cover how Viper works, so in today's video I'll do my best to explain it in a little bit more detail and a different perspective to help alleviate any confusion about the job. If you prefer a written guide to look through as well, I'll put a link in the description below to a document from the balance that goes over everything in detail. This is our job gauge, and it can largely be ignored. And its main purpose is to guide us through our multiple different combos that we have. Our bread and butter combo is a 3-part combo with an extra OGCD finisher at the end. This combo can be best explained as a starter, buff, and finisher. For the starter and buff parts, we have 2 options that we can choose from, and these correlate to the left and right side of the job gauge. And then for the finisher, we have 4 options, 2 options for the left side and 2 options for the right. Each side will have a flank and a rear positional requirement, and if you forget which one is which, just read the name of the ability and it will tell you. When you use a finisher, it will then buff another specific finisher as seen in this diagram. Our goal then is to use the correct combo that ends in the specified finisher. Now, if you're getting that sinking feeling in your stomach and you're worried that you'll never know how to get to the right combo every time, let me stop you right there. It will be the easiest thing you ever do on Viper. Let me demonstrate. First, the starter. When we start a combo, we have to decide which one to use. If our debuff, Noxious Gnash, is not active or close to falling off, then we want to start with Dread Fangs. Otherwise, we will start the combo with Steel Fangs, since it does more raw damage. After that, we move to the buff part of the combo. This combo action will apply either Hunter's Instinct, which is our damage buff, or Swift Scaled, which is our haste buff. Aptly named, Hunter's Sting applies Hunter's Instinct, and Swiftskin's Sting applies Swift Scaled. We generally want to apply the damage buff first, and then the haste buff after that. The important thing about these 2 abilities, though, is that they dictate which 2 of the 4 finishers we get. Now, if this is the first time executing the combo, then we get to choose which finisher we use. If we want to leave it up to the game to decide, then go for it, follow the glowing lines. There is some small optimization with this choice, but I will cover that in the next video. Each finisher will buff the next finisher in the sequence, and I like to think of the sequence as a 1-3-2-4 pattern. If you ever played a musical instrument and practiced scales, this will feel very familiar. By default, if you let the game decide for you, your first combo will end up on Flank Sting Strike. That should be executed from the ta-da! Flank. Flank Sting Strike will give you a buff that empowers the next finisher in the sequence, Hind Sting Strike. That should be executed from, you guessed it, the hindquarters, or the rear. Notice the pattern? These 2 finishers are on the same side of the sight gauge, and continuing the sequence will flop to the other finishers on the other side. You can think of this sequence as Sting to Bane, as the last 2 finishers in the sequence are called Flank Bane, buffing Hind's Bane, and Hind's Bane, buffing Flank Sting, recycling the sequence all over again. Again, all of this will be done for you. So, we complete the combo by executing the correct finisher, and follow up with a weaved Death Rattle, which is a free damage button and should always be pressed. And that's pretty much all you need to know about the sight gauge itself and how it functions. You can either follow the glowy blades to keep track of your combos, or just hit the glowy buttons. I personally recommend the latter. The next, and honestly more important combo, is the Dreadwinder combo. This combo hits hard, and should be used on cooldown. It should also be the first set of buttons that you press when engaging a single enemy. Not only does this immediately apply Noxious Gnash, but the next 2 abilities, Hunter's Coil and Swiftskin's Coil, apply your much needed buffs a lot quicker than your 1-2-3 combos. These also have positional requirements and are the only 2 of the 6 positionals we have that you need to memorize. The easiest way I remember this is that Swiftskin's Coil is a swift kick in the butt. Then the other ability you know is by default going to be from the flank. In between both of these abilities, there are 2 OGCD buttons that chain off of each other. This chain depends on which of the 2 abilities that you use. For example, if you use Hunter's Coil, it will grant Hunter's Venom, which buffs the damage of Twin Fang Bite. Twin Fang Bite grants Swiftskin's Venom, which buffs the damage of Twin Blood Bite. And on the flip side, Swiftskin's Coil will grant Swiftskin's Venom, which buffs the damage of Twin Blood Bite, which grants Hunter's Venom and buffs Twin Fang Bite. I like to think of it kind of like a ladder. You start at the bottom, climb up to the top, and then climb back down. The top and bottom of the ladder are your Twinblade GCDs, and the rungs are your OGCDs. Of course though, if that's too much thinking, then another thing that Dreadwinder does is grant Rattling Coils, the actual important part of the sight gauge. These are spent on Uncoiled Fury, a hard-hitting ranged attack with its own OGCD chain that can be pretty much spent at will, making sure not to overcap. If you know there's a time in a fight where you need to run away from the boss, this is the perfect ability to use while doing so you can keep following your A, B, Cs. Our 2-minute ability, Serpent's Ire, also grants a Rattling Coil. So we talked about the basic single target combos in Viper's toolkit. What I didn't mention was this part of the gauge. Every time we complete a combo, we get 10 offerings to fill the Serpent's offering gauge. Once we accumulate 50 offerings, or the buff from Serpent's Ire, we can Awaken. Reawaken is a damaging ability that increases our haste further and gives us access to a 5-part combo. After Reawakening, we move from 1st generation to 4th generation and end with our finisher,
Ouroboros.
Yeah, that. In between each generation, we get to weave a free Legacy OGCD for extra damage. The buttons for these generation abilities are, in order, Steel Fang, Dread Fang, Hunter's Coil, and Swiftskin's Coil. And the button for the Legacy abilities is the same button for Death Rattle. I would recommend when crafting your hotbar to make sure that these abilities are the most comfortable to reach, as you will need to press these buttons very quickly and possibly while moving. And again, if you're confused on which button you should press next, then that's it. A very simple job made even simpler through the implementation of the new combo action system. With all of this in mind, outside of the opener, there isn't really a set rotation that you would adhere to for every encounter, but rather a priority system. First and foremost, we need to keep Noxious Gnash active 100% of the time by using either Dreadfang or Dreadwinder. And at the same time, we need to make sure our Hunter's Intuition and Swift Scale buffs are always active. Then we need to make sure Serpent's Ire and Dreadwinder are always on cooldown. After that, we need to make sure to reawaken anytime we have 50 or more Serpent's offerings, or if we have the Ready to Reawaken buff from Serpent's Ire. This also means we need to make sure that we can do the whole combo without having to run out of melee range. Then we need to make sure we're spending our Rattling Coils on Uncoiled Fury as soon as we get them, or if there's a situation where we can use them to maintain uptime when we have to move away from the boss. The main point is to not overcap them. Lastly, rotate through the Dual-wield combos to generate offerings and always use the correct buff finisher, which if you follow the glowy lines, that should never be an issue. To put us in the best position to follow this priority system, we would want to use this opener. This applies Noxious Gnash immediately, gets our buffs up and running in the next 2 GCDs, followed by a Reawaken right when buffs go out, finish with another hard-hitting Dreadwinder combo, and snapshot the 2 Uncoiled Furies at the end of raid buffs. Now, I should be clear that I don't expect the job to fundamentally change between now and Dawntrail Early Access, but the potencies presented here are almost guaranteed to change not only on patch day, but all the way up to the release of Savage. Therefore, there might be some very small changes either to the priority system or the opener, or maybe both, depending on potency changes and whatnot. Be prepared for it, and look forward to it. And that's about it. This video covered the basic fundamentals of Viper, and has everything you need to know in order to play it and clear the more casual areas of the game. While it has arguably the lowest skill floor of maybe all the jobs, there's a lot more to unpack with the job that will allow for greater skill expression and better optimization. If that's something that interests you, check out the next video of this guide series, where we delve more into the advanced side of Viper, like optimizing raid buffs, positional alignment, and more. And if you're looking for a one-stop shop for Viper, consider hitting subscribe. I have a lot in store for you guys and hope to make the job accessible to players of every skill level. Until next time.